What is going on, everybody? My name is Northy, and today I have got my first ever face cam recorded video on the channel. If you haven't noticed, we have just hit 1,000 subscribers. I showed my face for the first time in the Fall Guys live stream that we did on Sunday. So if you haven't seen that live stream, I've actually still got it up on the channel. It'll be up for a couple more days, and then it will be probably privated. I won't like completely take it away, but I'll private it just to, you know, still have it on the channel. This is my first ever recorded video that is going up on the channel, and obviously it is the Teamcoach round 15 review. We do these every single week. However, this one being special is this the first one that marks me using my face cam. So hopefully my face isn't in the way of anything and things turn out okay. But for the moment, it's going to be right here. Let me know if I should make any changes. Some videos in the future have already been recorded, so don't stress out too much if it's still in there for a few videos, and I'm pretty sure some other videos in the future will also be without a face cam. I can't remember for sure, but I think there may be one or two, but that's all good. We're going to be alright, and we're going to go straight into the review because unfortunately we didn't get any prize cards, but the good thing is we were pretty close, and that's all we really need to be at the moment if we want to make sure we're getting our positions. But the good thing here is that pretty much everybody did all right. Josh Kelly got 97, which is really, really good to see, considering that he looked a bit rough to start. Ponce with a 99, so two very, very good performances that nearly get us to 400. Very, very close, but not quite. Noah Anderson probably being the disappointing one this week is what I meant, with only the 67 points. So that will definitely hit us hard. But Carl Amon was by far the best one. 10 marks and 10 tackles is just nuts for a player. I think I said when we were watching the game live, he got a triple-double basically. Marks and tackles and disposals triple-double. The basketball terms is like if you get three major stats in double digits, and he's done it so here today. So 114 points for him. He definitely turned out to be the best one. However, Jai Sinkin may have been a pretty good choice as well. You can see here he had the 101 and 28 disposals from him. Saw him very, very close to beating Amon, and honestly being one of our best choices. It would have been really nice to have him in our team, and ending up dropping 100 points for us would have been super helpful. Instead, we got Luke Parker with 73 points, being a double points player, who I wish I could change in hindsight, but we can't for obvious reasons. Parker has started to become a little disappointing, I won't lie. I've really wanted Parker to step up, and he just hasn't as of late. Goldie, he didn't even do anything that crazy, but still the 33 hitouts and the mark with the 15 disposals was enough to be the best classic player that we have at the moment. I'm sure there's someone better, but this week, I thought it was alright, but I think the fact that neither of these hit 100 and Luke Parker had 73 was the reason we came 40th. We were 40th, so close, but we still stick in rank 10 for the week. Oh, sorry, for the season, which is good. We're okay with that. I think I was really excited and happy with how the week went. I really thought we could have made it in the top 30, but again, can't seem to make it. Rank 40 is where we're going to find ourselves. We look through here. I do see hi, Northy. It's good to see you in there again. I'm glad you're doing well consistently now. Brad Pitt, I've seen. Kramer 5, I've seen. He's rank 11, so he's doing really, really well for himself. I think Katiz07 I've seen, and I think I've seen Taz Thunder before. Everyone else, maybe, but I know those for sure. And so, I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how this all went. Again, I want to try and find myself some players who are a bit more consistently, like, good. But then again, that's also asking a lot, because the likes of Lockie Neal you'd expect to be consistently good, and then he'd go ahead and he'd drop however many he did in this following week. He had like 22 disposals and maybe 8 combined marks and tackles, which is not good for a player of Lockie Neal's caliber, and just not a really, really good week for a Brisbane team. Human Cluggage was the only good one for Brisbane, if off the top of my head. But overall, in terms of long-term success, pretty decent week. In terms of prize cards, though, we are not getting one here. And it's unfortunate because at the moment, top team is so difficult for me to get a hand on. Even with this team, and I'm really happy with how this week went. James Sicily, even though the team didn't do too great, still managed to drop at least 80, which at least keeps us close. But you can see here, the likes of Vlosten, Lloyd, Andrews. Vlosten, I think, will be a change I make in the coming week. Stewart even had 90, so it would have been nice to use him even. But Sicily, He had the 22 disposals and the 9 marks, but I think he can be a bit more effective than what he ended up being. You can see here the 1%ers. Most of his effort was in mainly fighting the dogs, which is not what you really want to see. But Roy Laird had himself a really good game, 104. He had so many tackles. His 1 mark was the only reason I don't think he managed to get over the top. And he would have smashed it too. You just needed 3 marks and he would have won it for the week. But just the 1 keeps him in the place of what looks like 5th, tied 4th even, with Cogs, and Cornelio's starting to really find himself. It's good to see him back at his best, but 104 from Laird is quite good. But this week, the Ruckman really showed out. Rowan Marshall with 42 hitouts, 23 disposals, and 7 marks. A well-deserved winner. Then we go to Oscar McInerney, again with an unreal week. Like, very unlikely from McInerney. Same goes with Hickey. Like, some players here, maybe Rowan Marshall was the one that most people had, which sucks because he was the best. I thought picking Jared Witts was good. He had 20 disposals, he got the 41 hitouts, had a few marks. I aimed for 5, but 3 is good. It's above his average. I honestly was really happy with Witts' performance, and it ended up being 4th best. I don't know how, man. I feel like he should have been at least one of the top ones, in the top 3, but 3 separate ruckmen being in the hundreds, which is nuts. I really didn't expect to see these guys in here. I saw McInerney and went, wow, that's a good performance. I didn't even realize Hickey had a good performance, and then Marshall topping them all, even in a poor St Kilda outing. Yeah, a bit unlucky, I'd say, in that sense, but that's another close to 100-point performance. And then Bontempelli, as I mentioned, he had the 99. Himmelberg, I have to trust my gut next week because he was listed as half forward, but he got moved to the back line again. They're keeping him in the back line, even though there's a lot of scoring shots being scored at the moment. I think Himmelberg is probably a bit more, trustworthy down on the forward line because of the fact that they had Haynes down in the forward, Nick Haynes, and he's just not as, trusted a goal kicker. And for obvious reasons, he spends most of his time in the back line. He's not used to kicking at goals. But Bontempelli nearly had the 100-point performance. So, a lot of decent performances. Laird, Bontempelli, and Witts all combined for 2 or 3 points over 300, which is great. And then Sicily drops us just below 400. So I think we had 382, 381. Yeah, lovely. Just below 400. And if we had managed to get Vlosten, if we'd switched up Vlosten in there, that would have been a winning week. Literally 1 change to a player I know I would have picked, and we would have gotten a prize card for top 4. It would have put us 406, so 2nd. Pretty disappointing, man. It does suck a little bit, but again, it's a good, strong week. If you're in the top 100 for top 4, honestly, it's a good week because the scores differentiate a lot. Sorry, they don't differentiate a lot. They don't differentiate much is what I meant to say, meaning that a lot of people could have had the winning team, or a lot of people could have had the same players, or players could have had the same combinations to make the same scores. It's a lot closer together because there's less to work with, and so having all those players in are great. Getting to 381 is really good, but again, that 1 change would have put us over the top. Just 1 simple change that you can make would put you over the top. And I don't even blame myself for not making that choice because Sicily has been so good all year. He's got 99 there. Vlosten's got 88. And so, as good as Vlosten can be, he just wasn't the best. He just wasn't the option I was going to pick, especially with Sicily coming back. You would have thought that maybe he'd put on a bit of a fight against Bontempelli, and he did. As I mentioned, he was fighting him, but not in terms of, helping out the team get across the other side, because they looked so dominant, Hawthorn, at the start, and then just dropped off their intensity. A lot of Sicily's play felt like he wasn't being, he wasn't taking any risk like Vlosten was. A lot of his play was literally just him kind of kicking the ball around, and it sucks. You want Sicily to do a bit more than that, but he just didn't, and it's unfortunate in that sense. But I think one of the changes I may make very soon is chucking in Jordan Dawson. He's starting to make a real impact on the team, and I definitely have to double check Jake Lloyd every week and see who he's up against, because he was so good for Sydney on the weekend, just manhandling St Kilda. But we got over to top 18, and like I mentioned, a few things to point out. Stewart, although he did have the certain incident that a lot of people are talking about, and he will not be in many people's teams next week, if anyone's. He did have a pretty decent game in terms of impact. It's just team coach wise, not as good. But he was our 2nd best pick. We did have Vlosten, as I've mentioned, in our backline, but Whitfield had himself the 85, which is pretty good for him. I'm not stressed about that pick. Sicily with the 80. The ones that get really stressful are the Crisp with 68. That is very unexpected. And then I believe Sinclair didn't have too many either. We go down 58 for Sinclair. That is not what you want to see. Like I said, St Kilda just beaten on all like levels of the footy. It was just tough to watch for a Saints fan, and St Kilda just let Sydney roll over the top of them for the most part. But even then, Callum Mills only had the 79. Callum Mills, he did his thing. He really did all he had to in this one. But we look through the midfield now. Laird, like I mentioned, was a good choice. He was my best pick in top 18, and thank goodness he was in my top 4. McRae, who had himself a really good week, went back to his average, just below average. 4 marks, 2 tackles. I got to keep him in there and wait for him to have his week where he bursts out with marks and tackles, because he always averages 30 disposals. He's like almost always getting 30 disposals. He may have the week or two he doesn't, but those are the weeks you just got to hope he gets his marks and tackles, man. Just keep sticking with him. I think he's going to stay in my team. It's a little unfortunate the way it all turned out, but I think the thing I'm more annoyed at is Lachie Neale and Andy Brayshaw. Sammy Walsh would have been a great pick. He had the 40 disposals, not many marks and tackles, and I don't think he hit the scoreboard, so he didn't go over 100 too much. Jack Steele will be returning. I was very skeptical putting Jack Steele back in, but I may have to do so because first game back and he's getting 10 tackles. That is nuts. Jack Steele is an absolute winner, I think. And will be finding his way back in. And I mentioned Witts before. Witts was really, really good for us. Brayshaw was definitely a mistake. 78 points against Carlton. I'm surprised he got locked down by Carlton that much. But credit to Carlton. They did really, really well. Josh Kelly would have been good to stick in again. But Josh Kelly, I cannot rely on him at the moment. I really thought he could be that like hidden gem that will burst out for points. But ever since I chucked him in, he just can't get over 100. It's really, really tough. So Steele will probably find his way in, take out one of these midfielders, either Brayshaw or Mills at the moment, I think. But I want to go over to the forward line. Forward line was a super nice surprise this week. One poor performer in Tom Hawkins, I think. Tom Hawkins, a pretty quiet game for his standards. He kicked no goals, which is ridiculous for Tom Hawkins, and only the 41 points. It's not great. It's not a great game. The 4 marks don't really matter. But we got to Harry Mackay, who I think was second worst, and he had 69, which is honestly not bad return for Mackay, I'd imagine. Oh, Heaney was our second worst. I didn't even realize. Heaney is like that. He can have his games where he's amazing, and he put all the impact he could. He just didn't get his hands on the ball as much as I would have liked, and just below his average on marks. It's like little things like that. That's probably a good game for Heaney, but in terms of fantasy and team coach points, not really what we're looking for. I did have the thought of chucking Luke Jackson in. I thought Luke Jackson could have been a good choice because he was put in the ruck. I didn't realize he'd have that good of a game, and I definitely paid for that. Luke Jackson, unreal. The hitouts he had put him over. It looks like a pretty basic stat line, but the hitouts, man, got his goal, got his mark and a few tackles, I imagine, and he was golden. The dude was like super good. And I'm not mad at my Dylan Moore choice. You can see he had 88. He did really well for himself. I just wish I had Luke Jackson and Harry Himmelberg because they both absolutely popped off. They did amazingly. Tex would have stayed in. I was confident with my Tex choice, and he got 101. Bonds would have stayed in, and it probably would have stayed Heaney and maybe even Hawkins. I'm not sure if Hawkins would have been the one I kept. But Luke Jackson on ball would have been awesome for us. It's why I like putting backmen and forwards who play on ball in like my team, because often they have the best chance of getting their hands on the ball and bringing that ball up the field, including marks and tackles and stuff like that. So hopefully next week we'll find the little tidbits here and there that will bring us over the mark. But we check now, rank 126. It's not great. We don't want to go over the hundreds, especially with so many like top-notch players for the season getting into the top 10. It's not what we want to be finding ourselves, and I think we dropped to rank 13. I don't think we were ranked 13 last week, so it's disappointing. We wanted to at least be over 1500, and it sucks because a few changes here and there, like Himmelberg and Luke Jackson, who will probably find their way into the lineup next week. Both of them ended up being the top scorers, and that could have added 100 points just off of those two. Really not the greatest week for top 18, especially midfield wise. It would have been nice to find a few of those players. Like Took Miller we had last week. We took him out and he drops 100. It's just these little things that you can't stand. I took Sam Walsh out as well for Andy Brayshaw. And Andy Brayshaw has the poor game while Sam Walsh does well. It's like whenever you make the change, it automatically bites you. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating. But we're going to go check over on our tips now. Last week, we went through it on the AFL side, but we're going to check here for round 15. You see here, I did tip North. I was confident, but I can't have any confidence in North Melbourne, apparently. We only got 4 out of 9, which is crazy. We got the Collingwood one right, the Melbourne one right, the Power one right, and the Dogs one right. I'm proud with the Power one. Melbourne, I'm proud with 2, but I don't think that was too difficult after I looked at the stats. Fremantle being pretty comfortably taken care of by Carlton was definitely a shock. I think it was only close because Fremantle made the most of their opportunities in the forward line, but Carlton just pumped them in the forward line, kept getting those inside 50s. Richmond nearly took it. That goal from Maurice Rioli was so sick, and then Jack Henry right after with another sick goal and a sick mark. That was a sick mark. Just an awesome game, that Geelong versus Richmond one. Saints, surprisingly disappointing. I didn't tip them because of Sydney's performance against Port Adelaide the week prior, but I forgot to think about St Kilda's performance against Essendon. That was a rough one. We tipped Essendon over West Coast, and of course West Coast finds their second win of the season before North does. So North finds himself on the bottom of the ladder again. I can't keep doing this, man. But West Coast, congratulations to them. It's been a rough season for them too. So seeing them beat Essendon in front of their home crowd is definitely nice to see. But other than that, a lot of really fun games during this week. That Gold Coast Port game was so much fun to watch. Collingwood versus GWS was a really enjoyable game to watch in the last quarter because it got questionably close, and if GWS picked them off, man, that would have been very funny. I think funny would have been the right term. I was laughing a little bit when they got 10 points behind, but Collingwood did hold out like they probably should have. 4 out of 9 is definitely a poor performance. It's not what we want to be aiming for at all, but I'm not too stressed about tips at this point. We can try and get a 9 out of 9 at some point for the rest of the season, but if we don't find it, that's all good. But that is the round 15 team coach review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully you guys like the face cam. Everything is starting to flow a little bit more and hopefully become a bit more enjoyable. If you guys did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, comment down below how you did for the week, and what changes you plan on making in round 16, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We did hit 1,000, but let's see how quickly we can get to 2. 2,000 would be just ridiculous, but I'm not thinking about that for a while. Just subscribe if you enjoy the Team Coach content. If you enjoy anything footy card related, footy related even, chuck a subscription, join the channel, and I appreciate it all very much. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.